Everything is Fine by Great 78. Chapter 9. Apology. Once it was entirely obvious to them both that neither could properly fall asleep. Draco and Hermione talked into the wee hours of the morning after their return from the party at Weasley's. Mercifully, Hermione put on a robe over the navy blue nightgown, allowing him a small measure of relaxation as they spoke. They sat on the sofa in the living room, passing the bottle of scotch between them, not wishing to call Dobby to ask for 2 glasses. They relived several amusing experiences from their early years at Hogwarts, bits and pieces of their 7th and 8th years, and the better parts of that evening, before Ron had mucked everything up. They mused about the woman calling herself Luna, as well as the real Luna Lovegood and Harlow Garamond. Around what felt like sometime close to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Hermione nearly dozed off mid-sentence. Draco chuckled softly, the scotch making his mind relaxed. "Bedtime, Granger. Come on, love. This blasted telly will likely be on in a few hours. I won't get a minute's rest." He stood, pulling her up by her hands as she whinged about having to leave the warmth and comfort of the sofa. "Bedtime already? And are we back to surnames, Malfoy?" He smiled down at her where she stood in front of him, eyes closed, swaying sleepily. "Sorry. Hermione, I meant." "'S okay." She yawned hugely, stretching her arms above her and swaying even more dangerously. He grabbed her around the waist to steady her, and she flopped her head against his bare chest, nuzzling him in a way that made his brain catch. Warm." She put her arms around his neck, and seemed to be trying to twist her body to the left a few times, growing more frustrated with each movement. "What's going on?" "Hermione." Draco's brow furrowed in confusion. "Are you trying to disapparate?" "Ugh! Fork, yes! Wanna go to bed. Let's go." She twisted once more futilely, and Draco fought back the urge to laugh at her honesty. It also didn't escape his notice that she put her arms around him before attempting it, either. "Let me walk you there, all right?" he asked gently. Hermione smiled, dropping her arms from his neck and lunging for the corridor. "'Kay." She almost immediately lost her balance and would have smashed to the ground had Draco not grabbed her around the waist again. "All right, little lioness, hold on," he chuckled, weaving only slightly as he guided her carefully down the dim hallway to her room. Helping her onto the bed, he pulled the coverlet up around her chin. "It's hot," she said immediately, throwing off the offending blanket and tugging at the tie of her robe with fumbling fingers. After a moment she gave up, looking up at him with doe eyes. "Can you help me?" Draco looked her full in the face. Her eyes were half-lidded, and her smile was lazy and beautiful. She was clearly sauced, and would likely be horrified at how she'd acted towards him in the morning. He needed to tread lightly. "Of course, Hermione, I'll just—" He pulled at the tie, holding the robe, and slipped it off her shoulders, gliding it down her arms. She rolled over to allow him to tug it free from under her, then rolled back. "Where are you gonna sleep, Draco?" she asked, blinking her gorgeous eyes up at him slowly as he stood beside the bed. He swallowed. Back in the living room, I suppose. Got to be there to see if the show starts with my favourite asshole, you know." He smiled drunkenly. "Oh, you mean Ryan?" she asked with a sly grin. Draco pretended to be hurt, considering the asshole in question looked a bit like Draco. "I'll have you know, Ryan is a delight." They both laughed, and Draco continued. "Only kidding. Ryan is a shirt stain. An absolute turd. Oh, I can say turd, Draco said slowly, wrinkling his nose disdainfully. Ugh, I find I don't care for that one, if I'm honest. She laughed, throwing her arms over her head whilst lying back on the pillow, in a way that had Draco trying very hard not to leer drunkenly in her direction. "So, who is your favourite asshole on the programme?" she asked. "Puck, of course. He's the best villain, I think. Just a vile cesspool, really. The fact that he's named for a Shakespeare character is just the most, really." She turned on her side, offering him a lazy grin. "Didn't know you read Muggle literature, Malfoy?" "Given names, Hermione. And I've read plenty of Muggle literature, though you know Shakespeare was a wizard, right?" After 2 minutes of drunken arguing, which only concluded when they realized that they were arguing on the same side of the debate, Draco pulled her coverlet up again. "I really should get to bed, Hermione. The real world starts in about 2 hours or so." "Get Dobby to bring you a chair to put in here," Hermione said suddenly, face still hidden under her arms. At her words, a chime indicated the elf's arrival. She sat up a bit drunkenly to speak. "Dobby, I want the exact same chair like you gave Draco in the living room, but put it in here. Give me some more blankets and pillows, too." A quick chime revealed a replica recliner, kitted out with fresh linens. Dobby departed without a word to either of them. After closing the bedroom door to block out the inevitable noise of the television that would start blasting in only a couple of hours, Draco sank into it gratefully. "Good night, Hermione." "Good night, Malfoy." "Given names," he admonished lightly. "Good night, Draco." They were awakened what seemed like minutes later by the insistent buzzing of the doorbell. "Ugh! Godric on a gazelle, who in the right mind?" She grumbled a stream of colourful language the entire way to the front door, not noticing that she'd forgotten to put on her robe. After a moment, during which he'd dozed back off in the relaxing chair, Draco heard her call his name. "Hermione?" he called back, standing and hurrying out the bedroom door, still dressed in only his grey boxer briefs. He rounded the corner of the corridor and stepped into the living room to find a contrite-looking Ronald Weasley standing near the sofa, holding a bakery box. The red-haired man stared slack-jawed between the two of them, both still attired in decidedly bed clothing. "You both realize it's after 11, right?" Weasley asked them weakly. "Time flies when you're having fun," Draco answered dryly, rubbing at his cheeks to wake himself up. "What's up, Weasley?" I came to apologize, Malfoy. I was upset last night, and I was bang out of order for speaking to both of you that way." Weasley's eyes met both of their gazes firmly. "I wish I could blame alcohol, but it was mostly bitterness and our rather checkered past that had me speak that way. Hermione, I'm sorry." Hermione only nodded slightly. "I'm pleased to hear that. Is there anything else?" The ginger wizard looked again between the two of them, both clearly fresh out of bed. His teeth clenched under his freckled cheekbone. Yes, Malfoy. I'm sorry to have made assumptions, and impugned your character as well." Draco was not sure what impressed him more, the fact that Weasley had apologized, or the fact that Weasley knew the word impugned and could use it properly in a sentence. He realized after a moment that both of them were staring at him. Evidently it was his turn to speak. "And I apologize for goading you, Weasley. It wasn't sporting, and I shouldn't have done it." "Thanks," Weasley said. "I, brought chocolate banana bread from Better Off Bread. I asked Jean to put aside a loaf for me to bring to you. Do you have plates and a knife?" Uh, sorry, no, we haven't really had a need," Hermione began, but Weasley waved a hand at her dismissively.
"It's no problem. I'll call for some. Rosie?"
The same chime that usually indicated Dobby's arrival sounded, and to Draco and Hermione's surprise, a slightly plump, older woman appeared, wearing an apron. Her demeanour was that of authoritative kindness and care. She began bustling around the table, producing napkins, cutlery, and plates, asking what each person would like to drink, as she showed them to a seat. Draco could tell that Hermione found the woman's behaviour to be rather exhausting, and he had a strong feeling that he was looking at the celestial, omniscient version of Weasley's mum, and yet she somehow also reminded him of the barmaid at the Three Broomsticks. In addition to the tableware, she gave Draco and Hermione each bathrobes, for which Weasley looked most grateful.
"Anything else I can get you, sir?"
the woman asked, her flyaway blonde hair framing her face and her blue eyes sparkling at Weasley. After Rosie popped away, Weasley took a large swig of cold milk.
"Ah, perfect as always. Rosie is amazing, isn't she? So helpful, don't you think?"
Without waiting to hear their answers, he broke off a third of the generous slice of banana bread that Rosie had served him, and stuffed it into his mouth. Draco watched him chew with fascination, whilst the Cornish pixies in his mind took bets on whether or not the man would choke on the massive bite. Hermione rolled her eyes and picked up her fork, carefully cutting and then spearing a normally sized bite of bread that was more proportionate to her mouth.
"Actually, the being that helps us comes to us in the form of Dobby,"
Draco offered. Weasley stopped chewing for a moment to think about this. Draco wondered snidely if the man was incapable of thinking and masticating at the same time.
"Huh, that's interesting."
The Git took a huge gulp of milk, smacking his lips a little too loudly, and looked at Hermione with a knowing grin.
"I told you house elves just like to serve, Hermione. Guess you knew it all along."
Hermione's expression changed from polite to incensed, and Draco stepped in before the lecture began.
"Weasley, there was something else that Hermione wished to discuss with you yesterday evening, before you flung your outrageous insults at her."
Hermione's thunderous look tamed a bit. "Yes, Draco, you're right." From the corner of his eye, Draco noticed Weasley's eye twitch at their exchange of given names. Inwardly, he smirked behind his bite of chocolate banana bread, which truly was delicious. Hermione spoke up. "I'm not sure exactly what is going on here, but there has been some sort of cosmic mistake. For whatever reason, Ariel believes my name to be Harlow Garamond, and that I'm a socialite who cares mostly for television, sweets, and my friends' opinions of me." Weasley laughed out loud for a moment before taking in her sober look.
"Oh, really? How did that happen?"
"I don't know. The real Harlow Garamond died in 2015, and she was a muggle. And a vegetarian, apparently," Hermione groused. Weasley looked surprised at this first bit, but nearly guffawed at the pronouncement of her supposed dietary choices.
"It's clear they don't know you, then. Anyone who's seen you eat a Sunday roast—"
"All right, Ronald, you're not one to talk," she said crabbily.
"What's the big deal, Miney? Just tell Ariel they mixed up your names, and I'm sure she can put it right in a snap,"
Weasley said after he drained his glass of milk. "Well, that's just it, Ron. Do you really think that immortal, omnipotent beings who are designing the afterlife for every human being on Earth would truly make mistakes like this? I think it's clear exactly what's going on here."
"What?"
Weasley asked, bewildered. "I came here by mistake, and I believe that meaning Hermione Granger, was never meant to come here at all to the good place. I don't think I did enough to earn it, Ron." To Weasley's credit, The full-bodied, gasping laugh he gave extended on even longer than Draco's had. Tears streamed from his eyes, and he nearly fell from his chair in his laughter. For once, Draco was on the same page as Ronald Weasley. Miney, come off it! Blimey, you don't think you deserve to come to the good place? Godric's Ash, just the number of times you saved Harry's life alone would have earned you enough points. Never mind mine and everyone else's. Sweet shirt, that's your conclusion? And then he was off on a fresh set of giggles, doubled over in his chair.
"All right, you don't need to be so glib about it, Ron," she grumbled, taking in the small smirk on Draco's face as well.
Sorry.
Weasley sat up and collected himself.
I don't mean to minimize your thoughts or dismiss your feelings like in the past. I'm just saying, I don't think they made a mistake with you, Miney. This Pratt, maybe, but not you.
He jerked a thumb at Draco, whose wand hand itched with the desire to hex the man. "But a mistake was made, don't you see? This Harlow Garamond wasn't just a misspelling or a mispronunciation. She really existed. She really died. And I'm not really her. So where is she? Is she somewhere else, being called Hermione Granger?" she mused.
Draco interjected. "And even you have to admit, Weasley, it's really odd that your soulmate is named Luna Lovegood, but isn't the Luna we knew years ago."
At this, Weasley sobered immediately.
"You're right. After the party last night, I laid awake for hours thinking about that. I guess, deep down, I knew that wasn't Luna from the jump."
Hermione scoffed. "Too right. Not even the Luna we knew was so desperate for you that she would have sucked you off within minutes of seeing you again." At Weasley's confused look, she went on. "You know she, our Luna, had a massive crush on you in 5th year, right?" Weasley's face was a miasma of confusion and bewilderment, which to Draco looked completely normal for the wanker. Hermione grumbled something about the emotional range of a teaspoon.
"So, who is this woman, then, do you think?"
Draco asked.
"I mean, I understand coincidence is a thing, but the chances of there being 2 women named Luna Lovegood on Earth was already rather slim. But that they were both blonde and British, and that we've met them both, unlikely."
These were all ideas that he and Hermione had voiced the evening before to each other, but it was clear to Draco that some of this was just dawning on Weasley.
"Blimey, I don't know. I suppose you're right."
Weasley stuffed the remainder of his slice of bread in his mouth, simultaneously reaching for the knife to cut himself a second slice. Draco hurried to finish his own slice, not realizing they were in a race. Hermione had been right. The chocolate banana bread was divine. The rich chocolate taste almost fully disguised the sickly sweet taste of bananas. "Well, I'm fairly certain, based on her reaction last evening, that she is, or at least she actually believes that she is, named Luna Lovegood. It isn't like me with Harlow." Hermione finished her own chocolate banana bread and cut a second slice, eyeing Weasley's intake rate herself as he finished half of his second slice in one bite. To his credit, Weasley seemed to realize that he was demolishing more than 1/3 of the gift that he'd brought to Hermione and Draco, and stopped after the second slice of chocolate banana bread.
"I don't know what to think, but I do know that you are deserving of being here, Hermione,"
Weasley said. He turned to look at her more carefully and spoke very deliberately.
"Are you sure, though, that you're okay here? I mean, in this house with—"
Weasley's blue eyes slid sideways towards Draco, and Draco once again clenched his jaw. "I'm fine, Ron," Hermione reassured him. "Draco and I are long past any of the petty schoolyard rivalries we once had. Miney. Weasley leaned closer to her, reaching a hand towards her. You know it went beyond the schoolyard. He stood by, and he watched whilst... Ronald! Her gaze was quite firm. We've covered this territory before. If Draco had intervened then, he would have been on the ground right beside me, being tortured. And as it was, he did what he was able to do, to buy us some time that day. Draco unclenched his jaw, and spoke as neutrally as he could. Believe me, Weasley, if I could have done more, I would have. As you'll recall from the trials, the day you came to the manor was easily the third time that week that some snatchers had brought in someone to be questioned and tortured by Bellatrix. She was a sick predator. I know. When there wasn't someone being brought in, I was just as often her prey.
From across the table, Hermione gasped. Draco! That wasn't in the trial records. He looked down at the plate of banana bread, his appetite for it suddenly gone.
No. I gave private testimony, and asked that it remain confidential. It's in a sealed record. It won't be revealed until 50 years after my death.
Weasley took a deep breath and exhaled.
Well, at least all that shirt is behind us. And look, Malfoy, you made it here. We all did. That's something to celebrate. How about the four of us? We got to dinner tonight. I've been meaning to try that curry place in town. It looks delicious. It's one of Richard Pryor's places. His food's always top-notch.
That would be lovely, Ron, Hermione said, her eyes still focused on Draco, who was resolutely not meeting her gaze. 20 minutes later, Weasley was gone, and the two of them were dressed and ready for the day. Draco could tell she was making the greatest effort to move past what was said over the chocolate banana bread earlier. Hermione suggested they rent a paddle boat and take it out onto the lake. The walk through the small, placid village was lovely, despite the occasional hideous architecture. There were even a couple of buildings that he and Hermione found not entirely offensive. They reached the edge of the lake with its pristine sandy beaches. There were rows of boats of all styles, from jet skis, kayaks, and canoes, all the way up to private yachts and pirate ships. Draco idly thought of Hermione wearing a pirate winch outfit, and had to give the Cornish pixies in his brain a stern talking to, in order to calm them down. The paddle boat experience was glorious, Draco had to admit. It took nearly no effort on their part to row about. The paddles cut neatly into the water, and propelled them quickly, without much force. Truly a marvel, he mused. Once they'd reached a quiet place, some distance off of the beach, they both lay back on their respective ends of the boat, taking in the dazzlingly blue sky with the occasional fluffy white cloud.
That one looks like a hippogriff.
He pointed. She laughed her disagreement. It's clearly an aeroplane. He stared critically at the cloud.
Hermione, I have no idea what an aeroplane is, but I assure you, that is a hippogriff.
She sat up, laughing. You wouldn't know a hippogriff if it reared up and knocked you onto your ash on the ground. He threw back his head and laughed.
You wound me, Granger.
She laughed. Sorry. You got that wound from Buckbeak, not me.
God, do you have any idea how much that hurt? Those forking hippogriff talons, I don't know what the hell they have in them, but they burned like sulfuric acid. I had nightmares about that beast for months.
Her laughter broke off suddenly, and Draco looked up to see her staring at the bank of the lake. All along the side of the lake, people were gathered, enjoying the sunshine. Some flew kites, others played bocce or football. Several were gathered together doing some sort of stretching exercise. Still others played guitars and sang in a small group. But none of these people drew her focus. Instead, she was staring at an older man who stood by himself, watching them. He stared, openly, the intensity of his gaze hard to miss. "Who is that man, do you reckon?" she asked. Draco looked at him carefully. The man held his stare, returning it with interest. "I've never seen him before. Was he at the party last night? Maybe he just remembers you in that dress." Draco couldn't help it. It had slipped out before he could stop it. Truth be told, the same image had been in his own mind moments before. Hermione blushed, not meeting his silver eyes. "I'm sure that wasn't it. Truly, though, why do you think he's watching us? There's that couple over there in the swan boat making out. And look, those people are line dancing on a double-decker pontoon boat. What could possibly be so interesting about a couple in a paddle boat?" Draco's mind had stopped to examine the word couple as it dropped from her lips. She stared at him for several seconds, waiting for an answer. I don't know. Do you want to go ask him what his problem is?" Slowly, she laid back on her end of the boat. "No, it's all right. Probably just a looky-loo. Jam, I could really use a pillow. Dobby." With a chime, Dobby appeared, standing next to the boat on top of the water, holding out a pillow. Hermione accepted it hesitantly, and the elf disappeared with a smile for both of them. He gave her a wry grin. "Well, fork, that was odd-looking." She laughed and looked back at the small beach. "The man that was watching us, he's gone." Dinner with Weasley and Lovegood was just as uncomfortable and entertaining as Draco knew it would be. Having not seen the restaurant in advance, neither Draco nor Hermione knew the best way to dress. Hermione opted for a pretty silk coral-coloured dress, whilst Draco chose a crisp white button-down with khaki trousers. They met the other couple on the street outside of the curry restaurant. The woman named Luna wore tight grey leggings and an oversized sweater, whilst Weasley sported a jumper and jeans. "Sorry, I should have made it clear this place is rather casual," Weasley said, gesturing to the sign over the door. Draco turned to focus on it properly. "The green curry purry. What kind of food is this?" Draco asked, with a slight look of distaste. "It's curry, I promise. It's just as good as the curry in England. Maybe a bit sweeter because of the bananas, but it's delicious. Only a slight issue with the occasional cat hair, but you get past it quickly." The occasional cat hair? What the fuck did that mean? Draco thought to himself. Once inside, it was clear what it meant. The man behind the counter, the most laid-back Richard Pryor they'd encountered so far, held one cat in his arms, with another draped across his shoulders. A third wound its way between his legs. "Welcome to the Green Curry Purry, the best cat cafe in the good place," the man said, picking up 4 menus and walking them to a table. The cat on his shoulders fought for balance. "There's more than one cat cafe?" Hermione inquired, kindly. Pryor gave her a look of contempt, clearly unwilling to discuss the subject further. "Specials of the day are yellow curry and red curry." Not green curry?" Draco asked, a little disappointed. "I said yellow and red," said Richard curtly. It's just that it was on the sign," Draco began, but the man had already begun walking away, leaving them with their menus and glasses of water. "So, what do you suppose the other cat cafe is like?" Hermione asked the others, conspiratorially. "I've been there," Weasley spoke up. "It's a German-style sit-down place. Really buttoned up during the day, but once the banana Weizenbier starts flowing, it's hard to shut everyone up. The Jägerschnitzel is excellent, though." "What's it called?" Draco asked. "The Musa Meowmeister," the ginger answered. "Oh, the Pussy Palace!" Luna exclaimed loudly. her first real foray into the discussion since they greeted each other outside. Draco, who had the unfortunate timing to be taking a sip of water as she spoke, inhaled half the glass in one go. His face rivaled Weasley's hair in redness as he choked and spluttered in embarrassment. Hermione gave him a sharp look and turned to Luna again.
Sorry, what? That's what Barnaby called it, the Pussy Palace. He's the ambassador to Egypt that I met last night. He says he goes there loads of evenings. Maybe we can go and check it out after this.
Draco forced himself to breathe in and out slowly in order to regain his composure. Wordlessly, Hermione gave him an extra napkin to wipe his tears, still staring daggers at him. "Sounds fun," Weasley said gamely. The Musa Meow Meister was indeed a hopping place by the time they arrived. Patrons spilled out onto the pavement in front of the restaurant, clearly plastered. Evidently, the alcohol parameters for the Meowmeister had been adjusted, Draco thought. Inside, Draco could immediately discern what attracted the flirtatious Barnaby to the Musa Meowmeister. It was, indeed, a palace of pussy of all varieties. In addition to the copious amounts of cats lounging about, numerous voluptuous women strutted around in various stages of dress and undress, all of their clothing vaguely styled after German lederhosen or dirndls. Draco's mind pixies were salivating, even as his eyes focused on his hands, on Hermione, on the ground, on anywhere but the woman dancing lewdly on the bar in front of them. They managed to extricate themselves after only one round of drinks, with Draco claiming to have a headache from all of the cat dander.
"I didn't know you were allergic to cats," Hermione said playfully, as they walked back through the town square towards their gingerbread house.
"I'm not. I just wanted to get out of there, and I could tell you weren't enjoying it very much either. In fact, we had 2 cats growing up. Henrietta and Ursula were sisters. They were great fun."
He turned to look at her.
"What was your cat's name again?"
"Crookshanks," she replied.
He nodded. He already knew the answer, of course. He had overheard her mentioning the cat in classes and on platform 9 3/4 numerous times over the years. But he hadn't wanted to seem like a weirdo who knew everything about her. "If you should want another cat, I wouldn't be opposed," he ventured.
"I'd love that!"
she exclaimed. "Excellent. Let's sort it tomorrow, then." He couldn't help but grin a bit at her dazedly as they looked at each other, her coppery gaze meeting his silver eyes warmly. She stumbled a bit, missing her footing on the cobblestone pavement. "Careful, Granger. Too much beer. You can't be eating the pavement out here. I've no idea if the good place has healers, and I have no idea how to set you to rights without magic," he said, taking her hand and placing it in the crook of his elbow. "Here, hold on to me." She did so, long after the pavement had switched to the clean, flat cement as they neared their house. Hermione laughed to herself.
"I still can't believe a German cat cafe strip club exists in heaven."
His laughter joined hers. "I can't believe we went there with Ronald Weasley and Luna too." This made Hermione's giggles start anew.
"Luna too? Luna Tuna?"
They stopped on the curb, turning in glee to each other. "You know we can't call her that to her face, Hermione," he admonished.
"Of course not,"
she smiled, her mirthful gaze looking up at him openly. They stared into each other's eyes for several seconds too long before he finally pulled away. He could tell that the stout German beer had made her far too giggly. There was no way, he thought, that she would act this way sober around him. Draco woke the next morning to the blast of the screen, broadcasting yet another episode of what Draco had come to think of as actual hell, being forced to live with 6 strangers. A sleepy voice from behind him in the corridor joined in with the voices on the screen.
This is the true story of 7 strangers picked to live in a house, work together, and have their lives taped to find out what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real. Draco lowered the volume of the television with his mind. Granger, admit it. You're starting to love this show just like Hollow did.
Sod off, Malfoy. Oh, for Godric's sake. It's one of the ones with Paula in it. I don't know if I can stay for this, she moaned, tying her bathrobe tighter around herself. As she came round the sofa to sit, Draco heard her ask,
Draco, do you know what this is? It looks as though it was slipped under the door last night. She held up a small blue envelope in her hands. He sat up, instantly alert.
No. Is it addressed to one of us?
There's nothing on the outside, she said, sliding one finger under the flap to open it.
Hermione, no!
At her alarmed look, he explained.
It could be something dangerous. Poison or something. Perhaps we should ask, you-know-who, to do the honours.
She fixed him with an incredulous stare. So, you'll let the house elf get killed, is that it?
Granger, he's an omnipotent being that is present on all planes of existence, and in every second of time there is. I'm sure he can handle getting blown up.
She rolled her eyes. I'd say you've watched too many action films, but I'm not sure you've ever actually seen any. Ignoring his look of panic, she opened the envelope and withdrew a small note. But the little smile that had been playing about her lips faded quickly, replaced by a look of dread. Oh no! Draco, Fawk, look at this! She turned the note to face him, and he took it quickly from her. It read, I know your name isn't Harlow Garamond, and I don't think you belong here. Thank you for listening to Everything is Fine by Great78. If you enjoyed this story and would like to read more like it, please find me on Archive of Our Own or follow my Spotify channel, Silver and Copper.